So when I'm picking toys for random review, I'm always more likely to pick something of more of an odd nature, something a little bit more unique, or just more talkative, more things going on. And that usually leads me to pick repaints and remolds as opposed to the original versions of any one toy. And that holds true today. We are reviewing Cybertron Dark Scorponok, the Energon remold that frankly is one of the more bizarre toys I've ever owned, and frankly I don't know if the new paint job and the new molding makes him more or less so. But I guess I'll leave that for you to decide as I just go and ramble through all the features of the toy, and hopefully don't forget any for once. Let's start with the vehicle mode. I guess that's what we're going to go with. This is one of the most bizarre vehicles I've ever seen in any kind of Transformer ever. Okay, so obviously it's Scorponok, so it has to be a type of scorpion. Okay, fine. But that apparently wasn't enough. It had to be some kind of vehicle. We're not going to commit to making some gigantic scorpion toy for any toy line. So what else do we do? So they made him a construction vehicle of some kind. Or a excavation. I'm going to call it an excavation vehicle because that's the only thing I can assume. I mean, look at this. Of course, he's got scorpion elements to him. He's got these claws, which open up when you fold them like that, and that's a nice little simple gimmick. But look, it's excavator scoops, and they're sideways. Like, I don't even know how that's practical in any way, unless it's just meant to break something. You can see here in where like the scorpion legs would normally go, you've got scoops like a bulldozer or something. I don't know what's going on. You do have these, which I don't think have any kind of actual, unless these are like rock crushers of some kind, they're obviously just scorpion mandibles hanging out the front, but at the same time, you've got a cockpit. There's a windshield there. And there's even windshields on the sides as if there was a door there. Ladder. There's a ladder on the side, as if a human's actually supposed to pilot this. And of course, it doesn't have scorpion legs, it has these big treads. Though it does have kind of leg-like appendages on the back. And then, yeah, there is the tail, which, is shaped of a scorpion tail. And on the original toy, had a crane hook, because, again, we have to make it like a construction vehicle. It's a very confused toy. I'm not sure it entirely knew what it wanted to be. But it does make it talkable. It makes it unique and interesting. So we're not going to begrudge it practicality or real-life comparisons. This isn't like, everyone linking me to anti-aircraft vehicles when I reviewed Demolishor. There's no doubt that this does not exist in real life. I have checked. So let's take it for what it is. It is some kind of excavation/demolition vehicle that just happens to look like a scorpion. And we'll just roll from there. You can see it is cast in lots of gray plastic, and even this plastic that looks like black is not black. It's very dark gray. And yeah, there is, trust me, in person you can definitely see the difference. So it's supposed to be Black Zarak, of course, that's what the homage is going for. But even then, there's no, jet black on this toy anywhere. It's it's like the homage is trying to be there, but it didn't quite get through. The gold is all here. That's there from Black Zarak, including gold molded plastic. In fact, strangely enough, I think 2 shades, because this is actually a little bit darker than the thumb of the claw, which is kind of strange. Now, the plastic, both of them, are metallic, and they do have a little bit of swirling to them, but I've never heard of any GPS problems with this toy. So I'm going to assume everything is A-OK. And I did have to transform it for this review already. So, yeah, I can confirm, nothing has broken on him. So I'm not too terribly concerned about that. The rest of the color scheme, yeah, it's still a little bit crazy and manic. The translucent plastic is in this red shade, which is nice looking. I give it that. And then you've got this baby blue that wandered in from somewhere. If you've never seen the original Energon Scorponok, the best way of the best way of describing his color scheme is, no, what, yeah. It looks like a Pantone color test or something. They threw in every color of the rainbow, and then I think they invented a couple more. And that kind of translates over here. I mean, obviously, with multiple shades of gold and gray, you do have a toned-down color scheme. It's far more cohesive than Energon Scorponok was, but at the same time, you have so many different color sprues going on. There really needed to be, like, something could have been taken out here. The blue could have been gray or black, or it could have been red. It could have been a solid red, too, to make it look a little bit more solid and a little bit more like it knew what it was going for. As it stands, I don't know, I think it's just getting a little bit too busy, especially with how many different elements are going into it in the first place, trying to be both Scorpion and construction vehicle. As for features in this mode, of course, there are fake wheels under it, so with the weight, it can roll, though not terribly well. I think one of the reasons is the treads really don't have anywhere to peg in. You might have noticed as I was manipulating him, they just kind of sit there and let the ratcheted joints hold them in place, and it does not quite work all the time. And by that, I mean I don't think I've ever seen it work. You did see the claws open up, and inside the claws, you can push them forward and reveal firing missiles, which of course I'm not going to demonstrate here, because anytime you fire off a missile and you're not paying attention to where it goes, that's right about the time the TARDIS shows up right behind you and the missile shoots inside just in time for it to disappear into time and space forever, and most likely poking out Matt Smith's eye in the process. But if you want something that doesn't require launching anything, there's a little bit more we can do. There are extra weaponry all strewn about. Little guns here. We have guns rotating here on the side. But we also have something up here. And this is where things get a little bit interesting, because they had to remold the top of this to actually be for the Cybertron line, which means it now accepts a cyber key. This is a Jungle Planet key. This happens to be my favorite design. And there are numbers and a letter on the back, which used to give you information on a website. Yes, to everyone who tried to correct me on that, I know what it was for. That's the joke. So, let's actually plug this in and we'll see what it does now. If we can actually line it up. There we go. A little bit stubborn. And it launches the guns forward, and he needs more armament, really, at that point, don't you think? So he gets some extra guns. It's not an impressive gimmick, but at least it's out of the way. For a little bit more gimmick, you could move the tail and hit these buttons in the back to create a few sound effects, but I have long since removed the batteries because sanity. Energon seriously had some of the worst electronics I've ever heard out of a Transformer toy line. They were all like super annoying, except for the occasional time when they actually played the old transformation noise. That was neat. Also, it requires 3 watch batteries, and I don't have any on hand in order to actually plug in and continue demonstrating. Trust me, you're not missing out on much. I'm sparing you by not demonstrating the audio here. But seriously, if you want a little bit more than that, this toy does do a lot. And this is what really drew me to the toy in the first place for review. You might have noticed on the top of the tail, he does have a mini-con port. And in fact, on one of his claws, he still has a mini-con port. But over on this side, he still has the spark crystal from Energon, which does have a Decepticon logo inside. That makes Dark Scorponok capable of handling not only a Minicon attachment, an Energon Star attachment, but also a Cyber Key, making him the only toy in the entirety of the Unicron trilogy that can use all 3 power-up gimmicks. That's kinda cool, and it's a little bit of trivia to send us away from the vehicle mode, because we need to get into the robot mode. But first, we need to get into another gimmick on the toy, which is the fact that he is a Decepticon from Energon, which means he has a hyper mode. So we are going to go all the way to that. I'm going to unclip his tail and swing it down just to prepare it, because it's going to come all the way forward. Now for this part, I'm going to hinge these back and fold them out that way, just so I get a little bit of working space. Now hold your breath here, because I got to separate these huge hunks here and fold them all the way down to create... Oh, I'll get these legs out of the way by ratcheting them up. These have to fold all the way down, and then we fold them forward again on the other side of this big hinge. And man, this is a... Oh, it's a tight hinge. It's a really tight hinge. I wasn't kidding about holding your breath. There we go. Halfway there. Oh, man. I forgot how stiff these toys used to be. Man, you just lock them in their spot, and that's where they stay. And that was really good back in the day. But, man, that is tough to transform sometimes. So now that that's in its proper place, I'm going to fold all of this up and actually create the front end of the jet, which has to go all the way over like so. That plugs in there, and that should, yep, get lined up. If I can line it up, there we go. Now we'll straighten that out just to make it more jet-like. We'll take the guns away. And now it's as simple as folding these out down to this position. I'll give them the little blades out there. And then we fold these out to create the thruster jets. And that is our jet mode. And yeah, it's something, all right. Yeah, I'm going to call it a space jet because there is no sense of aerodynamic anything to this jet mode. I will admit it looks cool, and this is where the cohesive color scheme really works a lot better, because I actually really like how this looks compared to the Energon version, which is just way too busy and hard to actually see it as any kind of solid jet. I think this gray leading into all this being gray is what's really kind of helping to pull that together and make it a lot more solid looking. So I will give it that. But as you can see, it's not really a jet that is meant to fly through the air. Not with these tiny little wings, and not with these, I don't know, trying to be tail fins of some sort. It's neat that they actually did work in actual thruster engines, and you can see the turbine inside, so neat bit of detailing on that. It's largely the same as you saw in the Beast/Vehicle mode, and it's from the Jungle Planet, so apparently it is a Beast mode, even though it doesn't look anything realistic like the other ones do. This toy is exhausting. But you can see they did try. You know, it's kind of cobbled together. It's kind of an improvised mode, which a lot of hyper modes were, especially when they tried to be a little bit more involved like this. But credit where credit's due. It's a neat little trick the toy can do. So you do have a lot more playability to this. Tons and tons and tons of gimmicks on this one toy. Let's get him into robot mode so we can see how he is without all of this gimmick shenaniganry. So we will fold the legs down completely now. Just a matter of rotating hinges around. We can lower the legs. We can lower these kneecap pieces down too, but I kind of like them sticking out. It's a little bit fiercer that way. But just for the sake of completionism, just for the sake of getting it right, we will unplug all of this. Oh, man. Okay. I'm definitely reviewing more one-step changers in the future. And at the very least, testing joints for tightness. I need something with loose joints for a change. Everything on this thing is like, rock hard. Stop giggling. We're going to test these big hinges again. I need to, yeah, these things make me nervous because they are so tight. If I shatter this thing on camera, you're never going to see the video, so why am I even mentioning it? So I'm not going to show you if I screw up that badly. I said in the rule video, if you screw up that badly, scrap it. Because no one's going to care about your opinion at the toy at that point. Oh, everyone's just going to care that you broke it. Get out of the way. Okay, come on. Man. like, normally you're just, like, happy to have, like, really tight joints and hinges, but not transformation elements. Man, it makes this thing so much more frustrating to actually work with. Ah. And finally. Luckily, we got through that without any kind of... Here. I'm going to shut up. I'm not going to finish that sentence because we're not quite done yet. Got to get that out. We'll flip the head into position, close that chest off, and reveal the finished robot mode, which actually needs a little bit more support in the way of some heel spurs. So we'll go ahead and fold those out too. Yeah, just forgot about them. Don't worry. I'm keeping track. I'm doing good. I'm doing good this time. I'm not forgetting anything. I haven't left anything out. Please tell me I haven't left anything out. There you go. That is our Cybertron Dark Scorponok, and I will raise this a little bit so you get the full picture. He is a big, burly beast of a beast former. He's like super thick. Like, he's got a lot of the original Scorponoks, just like sheer bulk and mass in this design. I actually quite like it. Like, there's elements to this that really do get to me. Like, I like big shoulder parts. Like, I like when they go outward, upward. There's kind of spiky, a little bit of an interesting angle to them. And I do like big solid robots. Now, I'll give you a close look at the head, which is the only jet black on the entirety of the toy. And you'll notice, yeah, he's got the visor, which that is an iconic little thing of any Scorponok or Black Zarak, whichever one you choose this to be. And we'll go ahead and show you what it looks like with the visor down. And he looks like he has a visor on. So, big surprise there. Yeah, so nothing to really write home about. It's not a bad head sculpt. I like it. It does its job. Now, as far as details go, you've pretty much seen it all. He is one of those toys that just wears his vehicle all over him. All the same details are visible. The head's really the only thing that wasn't hidden up to this point. So, you know, in a way, it's kind of my type of Transformer. Like, it doesn't hide anything behind shell and panel. It's just there. You move parts from one position to another to make the modes. And that's how it goes. And that's how it should be more often. And rarely it is these days. We can test out articulation at least and get that out of the way. The head does turn, and ironically is like the only loose joint on this whole thing. As you saw, these do hinge outward and downward, so you get a little bit of positioning option there. It rotates at the top of the shoulder, and then you have a hinge, which is a nice clicky joint, as well as an elbow. And of course, the claws do still open up. For a little bit of extra clamping, there is a little bit of play in the fingers, or the big claw, I should say. So he can clamp down on something a little bit tighter if you want to grab any Autobots by the throat or something. Leg-wise, not a lot. He gets a little bit of outward motion just to splay his legs a little bit and give him a more natural position, but that's pretty much it. Big ratchet joints there, bigger ratchet joints there. And you do have some play in the foot as well. As well as a little bit, just a little bit in the ankle tilt, just in case you, in the heel spur rather, just in case you want to position him a little bit weird. Though he really doesn't have that much posability in him because it's all on hinges and it's all very lateral movement. So he's not very posable. He is one of those figures that is mostly there for his tricks. He does have a lot of tricks. I've spent most of the video trying to show them all off. He's still got all the other things he could do here. He still takes the Energon Star, the Minicons. You can still fire the missiles from the claws, and you can still deploy his Cyber Key gimmick as well. So he still has plenty of playability in this mode, and of course the sound effects would still work too, if you actually want them to work. But overall, that's pretty much what he is. He's meant to be a big, imposing, action feature-loaded toy who really doesn't get a whole lot of action as far as action figures go. He's big, he's just big, stiff, solid robot, and I will give you this, he looks really cool. But if you're looking for something that's got posability, he's going to disappoint quite a bit. And that's pretty much the long and short of Cybertron Dark Scorponok, the former Energon Scorponok, the future BotCon Double Punch, which I still need to review at some point, and then back to Scorponok again because BotCon ran out of ideas. So, there you go. These still get longer. I keep picking like really long-winded toys to review. I'm going to review a Minicon next. I need a break. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Promise you I'm not.